Nvidia has launched the RTX 2080 Super this past week, but is this super as the other supers? Let's take a look at performance, pricing, and the general market situation right now to figure out if this card is something to be happy about. Hey there guys, the PC guy here, and after the launches of the RTX 2060 and 2070 Super, we were kind of hoping for a nice performance increase with the 2080 Super that just launched this week. However, there were always a few reservations considering how close it would get to the 2080 Ti. Now, those reservations have been dispelled completely, even if not in the best way. Nvidia themselves, when comparing the performance of the 2080 Super, they refrain from comparing it to the 2080 Ti or even the older 2080. You would think that it being the replacement of the 2080, they would want you to see how much better it is than its predecessor, but they don't, and there's a good reason for that. The truth is that while I was not able to test the card myself, I did look at a lot, like at least 10 good or more reviews of the 2080 Super, and the conclusions seem to be pretty much the same, that this card performs like single digits percentage above the 2080, that is between the 4 to 8% better than the 2080. Now, you could argue that for the price, and this being a card, at least the Founders Edition, with a lower MSRP, that is fine. And, well, it is a percentage increase, it is an increase in performance for supposedly less price, but it kind of falls short of the cards that preceded it, the 2080 and the 2070 and 60 Super, and let's face it, it comes out a year later than the original 2080, so you kind of could expect a bit more of a performance increase out of this refresh. Now, let's take this analysis step by step. Let's start, for example, with the pricing. The 2080 Super is retailing at MSRP at least, be it an Nvidia website for the Founders Edition at 749 euros in Europe and 699 USD in America. Now, these are cheaper prices than the 2080 when it originally came out at 799 USD, for example, so that's 100 less. However, do we really see these prices reflected in the partner boards, for example? I have found two cards that have the exact same designation, one super, one not super, to compare the price from card to card from the same manufacturer and the same board designation, the same graphics card, basically just a different chip, so that the comparison is as far as possible. This is the Inno3D RTX 2080 X2 OC, and as you can see, the price has been pretty stable, no huge fluctuations, no price rises or drops. So as you can see, it has risen. It was launched around, well, around the same as it is now, around the 700 mark, maybe slightly more. It's difficult to see in this graph, but around the 700 euro mark that this card was launched, and it has been mostly stable, slight highs, slight drops, slight rises, but it's around the same level, and it is at 700 right now. So this is for a 2080. It is one of the cheaper variants that I have found. I can actually let you see that, yes, if I go here and if I pick 2080 and I sort it by price, it is one of the cheaper, not the cheapest, obviously there is some 50 euros cheaper, but I had to find one that I could match up with the right super variant. So as you can see, it's not one of the most expensive ones out there. Let's take a look at the super variant this time around. Again, it is the same manufacturer, same designation and all of that. It is one of the cheapest 2080 Supers as well, so it is pretty much a fair comparison. And as you can see, the cheapest price is 789. Now, I know that it has just been launched, and it is expected that the older cards are on a discount and the newer cards have a bit of a price premium. However, you saw the graph. According to the price history on that 2080 that I just showed you, it launched at those 700 is right now. It is not heavily discounted now or anything else because the supers are out and the old ones need to go. No, that was the same price as it was launched. And right now, as we are seeing, the super is launching at a 90 euro price premium, while, well, the MSRP of the Founders Edition is 100 euros lower. So the price cut is not really being reflected on the AIB cards, and you are not getting a cheaper product either. If anything, you are getting a slightly more expensive product that completely defeats the purpose of this launch and completely defeats the purpose of it having such a small performance increase that is not worth the almost €100 price premium that they are putting on it. This is not isolated to this graphics card because, like I said, this is one of the cheaper variants, and the other variants from other brands are even more expensive, so it makes it even worse of a deal. Time you could potentially see discounts and price drops on the Super 2080. However, right now, price-wise, it is definitely not worth aiming for. However, you have the issue that there's no other card at that performance point or at that price range from any other manufacturer, so you are it's kind of your only option if this is how much you want to spend on a graphics card. Alternatively, you could save a little bit more and buy one of the cheaper versions of the 2080 Ti. It's about a €200 difference as far as European prices go, so it is worth it for the performance increase. However, again, that's another €200, so that kind of changes your budget quite a bit. One could argue that the performance is what could be expected from a simple refresh. It is not as much as we hoped comparing to the 2870 Super, for example, the performance boost it got, but we have to see it like this. NVIDIA has said specifically that there will not be a 2080 Ti Super. Period. They will not be coming out with it. Obviously, this could be a misdirection. They could just release it in a few months. But as far as we know right now, there will not be a 2080 Ti Super. So by giving too much of performance boost, and I'm convinced that they could have made a better 2080 Super. But if they made it a lot better, it would undermine the people wanting to go buy the 2080 Ti. Because the Super is cheaper, supposed to be cheaper, at least the Founders Edition is, the rest not really, but that was the whole point. And if it was at that price for a lot better performance, no one would buy the 2080 Ti because it would just not be worth the price difference between the two. So this is probably their way of protecting their top flagship product. Sadly, this leaves the people that bought it with not much of an increase of the standard 2080, and this is a reflection of a deeper symptom in the graphics card business, which is when AMD is not in striking distance, the improvements are a lot worse. You can see that the 2060 and 70 did bring quite sizable increases in performance compared to the baselines. Why? Because the 5700 and the 5700 XT were right there. They had to make them better to compete. Now, it's arguable if they are better or not, because they do pump out mostly better results. However, the price is also slightly more expensive, but they did make performance increases that were a bit more noteworthy than this. At the 2080 level, AMD has nothing right now, so NVIDIA is free to just basically give us such small increases in performance for no price reduction in practice, if anything, a price increase, and that's not really, worth it. Especially if you own an RTX card already, this is definitely not even worth looking at. With that said, if you are aiming to get a card in this price range, I would go for the 2080 Super if you are planning to, for example, water cool it or something of the sort, because then you can still squeeze out the performance out of it via overclocking, and the lower quality cooler will not be a problem. If you are planning to run it at stock settings, the Founders Edition will be fine. If you are planning to overclock, like I said, either you will water cool it, or I would get one of the cards with one of the beefier coolers from the board partners. Lower MSRP on the Founders Edition's cards specifically makes it a bit more attractive. However, given the pricing that you saw in Europe, the first cheaper board partners are only within like 30 to 40 euros of striking distance, so that alone might be worth paying for the better cooler out of the box. I am hoping to see price drops in these when the supply is a bit more stabilized and more stores have them in stock, and especially if they do not sell very well, which for the community's sake, I hope they don't, because this, again, is very disappointing in terms of performance gains. It's just a release for show, basically, and a proof that no competition at a certain price point leads to no innovation and no performance increases. It's a very, very clear that this card could have been the 2080s that launched a year ago. Could have been, they just had no motivation, no reason to actually do it, and we could have had an even better product now. But the fact that there's nothing in this price point leads to basically a stale product lineup. Here's to hoping that in the next year or two, Intel and AMD will catch up to the performance and will force NVIDIA to innovate. Because, well, you hear me say this a lot, and it's not, I'm no AMD fanboy. I actually own no AMD products at all right now. I don't hate NVIDIA either. I just hate the fact that the product lineup is so stale, the performance increases are so low, yet the prices keep climbing. If you look back a few years, you will see that the highest end GPUs, were selling for the, I don't know, 6 to 700 at max, and now you have the mid range at the 5 to 600, and the high end of GPUs are at the 1200 to 1300 euros or dollars. And I do get it that the development costs and production costs have gone up, but they have not gone up by that much in just 2 years. And if you look at the inflation of any other product, it has not gone up by double in the past couple of years. So this is clearly an abuse of the monopoly. And like I said, the products are good. I don't hate the company making them or anything of that sort. I do think that they are taking advantage of their top position to, well, milk us out of our last dollars. So I do hope that the competition rises up and the prices drop. However, the launch of the 5700 and 5700 XT has kind of shown that while AMD, when competing, will give lower prices, they are not as low as you would expect. They are lower, but they are still not at the levels that we saw years ago. So we will just have to wait and see when they do get to that point, if they will make the prices go down by competing at the same level with lower prices, or if they will be, well, I guess we can also charge a bit more, and we will also price our top cards at the 1000+ range, and just, $50 cheaper or $100 cheaper, which is still highway robbery if you ask me. So we'll have to wait and see for when that happens, if that happens. For now, again, if you are planning to buy a card in the $700 or $800 range, this is the card for you. However, performance-wise, in terms of performance per dollar, you are better off either paying more for a 2080 Ti or going a bit lower to a 2070 Super and overclocking it and, well, calling it a day. This has been a disappointing launch, if I say so myself, and hopefully the next few launches, which probably will not be soon, will be a bit better. This has been Ethic PC Guy. Like and subscribe if you enjoy our content. And I will see you guys in the next, hopefully more satisfying video. And have fun, and I'll see you later.